2, check. And we'll get started with another Monday guitar motivation today. And we'll give you just a minute to get here, make sure everybody can hear me okay, see me okay, that sort of thing. Hopefully your weekend was good. Out here in North Dakota, we're still dealing with cold weather. It gets warm, and then it gets cold, then it gets warm, then it gets cold. And I came down with a horrible cold, which I've been fighting for about 5 days now, and it doesn't seem like it's really getting any better. Hey, X-Metal 335 is here. Let's just give it a couple more minutes just for everybody to show up, and we'll go ahead and get started. Lahul is here, and hello. But yeah, I wanted to go live today, make sure we talk a little bit about some stuff that we can do. Hey, RJ. Hey, Sean. Awesome. Thank you so much. Natalia is here. Sorry about that. Daywalker is here. Very cool. Again, we've got all kinds of people that have shown up now. So Joseph is here. John is here. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. I get a lot of people that ask questions about how to control the strings when you play. They get a lot of string noise, and I've got some tips that I think might help you a lot this week to try and avoid that a little bit. Stine time, yes, it's Stine time right now. And like I said, I apologize if I cough or anything like that. I've got a really bad cold I've been fighting for a while, but I did want to go live and hang out. Let's see who we got. Robert here. Hey, Robert. Kevin is here. Joel is here. Oma is here. Shauna is here. Jason. Jay is here. Mike is here. Bruce is here. Chris, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. If you happen to see my mom in the chat, say hello to her. I can't see all the chats, so there's a lot of them. So because I get chats coming from everywhere, from Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and different things like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. What I want to do is talk to you a little bit today about trying to control the strings when you play and how you can do that, how you can manipulate that a little bit better if you're having problems with that. So first of all, let's just start with some chord ideas here. And then what we'll do is we'll move into scales, which is really what people have most questions about. But I do want to cover chords a little bit as well. So let's say, for instance, you were playing something like a D chord. And on a D, you only want to strum the bottom 4 strings. But maybe you're, in the groove and you're doing your thing and you hit more strings. Now the problem is, like with a D chord, is if you hit that 6th string, it's going to sound pretty ugly. If you hit the 5th string, it won't sound so bad. But if you hit that E, it's going to give it this really kind of maybe unwanted sound. So what we could do is take that D and we could touch the 6th string with our thumb, not push on it, but just touch it lightly to kill the sound of the string. Now you might still get this, but you won't hear that in context of the bigger strum. So you might do that on A. You might make an A chord and do the same thing. So you've got an A chord, you might use your thumb over the top to just lightly touch that 6th string. This isn't a new guitar. I'm not sure who that is. Let me see. That is Stuart. Stuart says, I haven't seen this guitar before. This isn't a new one, but it's a Floyd Rose guitar. It's a lot of fun to play. The neck on this thing is absolutely motivating to play. So I do enjoy this guitar a lot. So anyway, so I've got this A chord here. I can touch the 6th string with my thumb over the top. Now, you might play your A with these fingers, or you might play them with these fingers, whatever works for you. My point is that if you use your thumb, not to press on the string like we often do to make chords, but to deaden it, it gives you more ability of being able to kind of free yourself to strum how you like. You can strum a bit more aggressively over that D and over that A, that sort of thing. So that's a really good thing to learn how to do when you're playing. Now, another thing that you can do is you can use the fingers themselves, not the thumb, but the fingers to deaden strings in something like this. Let's say, for instance, I was making a C chord, and on this C chord, I don't want the 6th string, okay? I just want the bottom 5. Now, again, I'm going to try and just strum the bottom 5, and that's great, but maybe sometimes I do accidentally hit that 6th string when I'm strumming, as, whenever we strum, ideally we want to hit X amount of strings, but when you're playing for real, you kind of hit less and more and different things like that happen. So when I'm making this C chord, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the ring finger, and instead of just pressing on the 5th string like I normally do, what I'm going to do is move my finger up just a little bit further. Okay, so I'm just pushing down a little bit further on my finger so I can touch the 6th string with my ring finger at the same time that I'm pressing on the 5th string. And what that does is it deadens out that 6th string. So whenever I go for a C chord, the first thing I do when I make this chord is that 3rd finger is placed in a position to where it's pressing on the 5th string, but it's also deadening the 6th string. Okay? Now, before I forget, I want to let you know, too, that if you head over to GuitarZoom.com, there's a premium membership you can sign up for where you get a bunch of my courses and smaller guitar lessons, all kinds of different things. So if you get a chance, head over to GuitarZoom.com. I would sure appreciate that. Check it out. All right, so I've got this C chord right here. I'm deadening out that 6th string. Okay, now I'm in control. Let's say it's within a chord. Let's say you wanted to make a G chord. Okay? So right now I'm making a 4-finger G chord. You might just do 3, and that's okay. But let's say I wanted to make it more sort of the Angus Young way where I don't want the 5th string. Okay? Well, what I can do is use my 3rd finger to press on the 6th string to get the sound I want, and then intentionally deaden out the 5th string by lightly touching it with that middle finger. You see? So you can always use your fingers to manipulate strings. You know, one thing I always used to tell students when I used to do a lot of private lessons is that, you know, when you play on stage and you're dealing with loud volume and things like that, one of the most important things is control, because if you don't have control of all that, things start feeding back unwanted. Sometimes you want some feedback, absolutely. But that's a controlled feedback. That's something that you're looking for, not just extra noise that you get when you play. And so I've always tried to explain to students that when we're learning something, you know, a lick or a scale or a song or chord or whatever it might be, the tab or the notation or the instructor is telling us what we're supposed to play. The numbers for the tablature or the notes for the notation is telling us what to play. But what's really important to make yourself sound better is what's going on in between those, right? The stuff written in between the lines that you don't think of. And that's that control when you play. So for instance, if I was going to play a scale, and again, just whatever it might be, the one thing I'm trying to do is play notes, and at the same time I'm controlling everything else so nothing else is ringing out. And certainly as I start adding some distortion and things like that, it's going to get even worse, right? So let's talk about what I call the Frankenstein. Now the Frankenstein, if you think about Frankenstein, when Frankenstein would walk, okay, his feet would do this. He'd go like this, okay? That's how Frankenstein walks. So I've always called this the Frankenstein. When we walk, we don't do that. At least we shouldn't do that. We set both feet down and then a foot comes off. And then we set both feet down and then a foot comes off. And this is how we walk. Okay, we don't do this. So when we play single notes, and let me just use pentatonic as an example. When I'm playing this pentatonic scale here, I want that same thing to happen. I don't want a Frankenstein, like when I play this note and then I go to this note. I'm not trying to do that. What I need to have happen is there's got to be a spot in the middle where both fingers are down on the guitar at the same time. So let me kind of show you how this works. So if I was playing, and I'm just playing A minor pentatonic here, but if I was going from here to here, I can put this finger down, and this first finger is not going to affect the sound of that pinky at all. So it doesn't matter when this first finger comes off, as long as this pinky has now made connection. So once I've made connection here, I can take this finger and apply it, for instance, to the 5th string. So what I do is when I'm going to go to the 5th string, I can move this into position while this note is being held. So when I'm ready then, I'm going to go to this note. Now, there's a couple things happening here that I want you to be aware of. Now, as I make my shift from, well, let me first explain it this way. There's two things that are happening here. There's playing the same notes, or playing notes on the same string, and then there's playing notes on adjacent strings. So before I move on to what I was going to say, if I was playing notes on the same string, okay, I can leave this finger there until this finger is ready, and then this finger can come off the guitar. Okay? Now, while I'm doing that, I'm deadening out all the other strings underneath here with my index finger. So I'm not just trying to do this. I'm not trying to miss those strings underneath. I'm literally touching those strings with my index finger so they're not making any sound. So again, if I was playing loud and I wasn't touching those strings, there's a very good chance that they would start vibrating and create feedback. So I want to make sure that I'm touching those strings as I play. Okay? So now, the next thing that comes up is I'm moving from this pinky to another string right here. So when this finger is ready, I've picked this already, that's already gone. Now I'm going to go to this string. What I need to do is I need to pick that, but I need to get my pinky out of the way. Well, what often happens is when you take your pinky off the guitar or take a finger off the guitar, you get these sounds, right? So here's the trick, is that when I'm moving from this pinky on the 6th string to the first finger on the 5th string, I'm using the tip of my first finger to deaden out that 6th string, just like I was when I was doing C, like I showed you earlier. I'm deadening out that 6th string on purpose. So when I go from here and I play this note, this string is deadened out by the tip of my index finger. And as I continue going, every time the tip of this index finger is killing the string that's above it so it doesn't make noise. Now, there are a couple other things that you can do, and I do these as well. I kind of do them in tandem, but basically, when you move from the pinky or whatever, 6th string to 5th string, however you want to think about this, another thing you can do is when you go to pluck that 5th string, you can deaden out the 6th string with your thumb over here. The only thing is if you're playing something, for instance, with alternate picking and you're moving quicker, you might not have as much time to deaden those strings with this hand, but it definitely is something that you can do. I think I tend to do both of those as sort of an overly cautious thing. I do them both, but this one happens all the time unless I want that string to ring out for some reason. I'm always touching the string above it. Okay? Now let's take an even bigger approach here and look at this. So I was showing you how if I was on the 6th string, I'm deadening out everybody else with this first finger. That way they're not going to start ringing out on me. So as I move, again, I'm not doing the Frankenstein here. This one goes down, this one gets ready. Now I move from here to here. And again, the tip of this index finger is killing that 6th string. Now, when I get to the 4th string, I can do that as well. But now this string, the 6th string, is left exposed. So it can start vibrating. So that's where this hand comes in, okay? And I'm always using this part of my thumb, but it might be different for you. But so as I'm going to this 4th string now, this hand comes in and starts touching the 6th string, and then the 5th string, and then the 4th string, okay? So this part of my thumb is touching all those upper strings, those thicker strings that I can't touch anymore because I'm moving too far down the guitar. So the thinner strings are being controlled by this hand, namely this finger, the index finger, and the thicker strings are being controlled by the pad of my thumb as I move down. And then there's always the string in the middle, which is being controlled by the tip of my index finger. That way there's a cushion in between so I don't accidentally deaden out what I don't want to deaden out, right, which is the string, that movement. In between those. So as I play, you see, you try and control those. And that way you're not getting all of this other, that kind of stuff happening as you play. Okay? So it's very important to try and do that. Let me just make sure everybody's got this. Okay, so I see somebody says bar chords, want to talk about bar chords. I won't do that today, but I'll make a Monday motivation out of it. We'll talk about bar chords. I think we could even do that next week. That'd be great. Okay, so X Metal says he does that anyway, which is perfect. Okay, all right, awesome. So it looks like everybody's got this good. All right, so if that makes sense, that's what I want you to try and work on this week, is trying to clean those up a little bit as you play. as you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, keeping those strings quiet. You see? So as I'm playing, okay, always controlling all the other strings around it. It's very important to learn how to do that, okay? So if that makes sense, have a great week. And stay healthy and stay safe. And actually, I'll be going live again here in just a few hours. I'm going to be talking about some pentatonic stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about pentatonics, join me at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, and I'll be talking about that again today as well. So take care, stay positive.